the BRICS trading bloc.
Yeah.
Do you know what they're doing?
The renminbi. I don't think that's somebody else's money.
They are actually working to create a completely new currency pegged to gold.
Really?
Because, if you can believe this or not, the top 10 countries holding gold reserves, one of them is the United States. We hold the largest gold reserves in the entire world.
Right.
The other 9 out of the top 10, they all want to distance themselves from the US dollar. 4 of those 9 are BRICS leadership countries. China, Russia, India, Brazil.
Yeah.
They want to separate themselves, and they have large gold reserves. So
it makes sense. You can't say that doesn't make sense for them.
it doesn't, right? So you tie your currency away from the US dollar, peg it to gold instead, and all of a sudden you have less dependence on the United States.
Right.
And I was so upset. I was so frustrated when we did this to Russia during the Russia-Ukraine war, when we blocked their access to American accounts. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Like, that was such a dipshit move for the United States because we just orchestrated for the whole world. We just showed the whole world that your money's not safe if it's in American banks. That's the exact opposite of the message that we should be sending. So now, anybody who even remotely thinks that they have a conflict with the United States now or in the next, 50 years, they don't want to hold US dollars. They don't want to hold their money in American banks. And we were just talking about it, our economy is tied to financial services. What the hell are we going to do when people don't want to do business with American banks because they're afraid that if they do the wrong thing, we're going to lock off access to their accounts? And Russia had real fiat currency. They weren't in debt. It wasn't a line of credit. It was their actual money.
Yeah.
And then when we locked it off and we convinced European banks to do the same thing, ooh.
Yeah.
Like, that was a bad move. That was a bad move, and we're going to be paying the penalty for a while.
Yeah. Well, and there are talks now about, when the war is over, who's going to pay to reconstruct.
Yeah.
And if Ukraine wins and Russia loses, should the world make Russia pay for the reconstruction? And I think a lot of the consensus from various academics and scholars out there are that no, that's a really bad idea. So
Academics and scholars, I usually disagree with them, but on this point, I think their analysis is totally right.
yeah,
Right? It's such a bad idea to hold someone's money hostage and then basically steal their money out of their account that you guaranteed to then rebuild another country, especially considering the fact that had we not frozen their money, this war could have already been over. Who knows? We don't know what could have happened had the world not decided to meddle in everything going on. And it's hard. It's hard because, it's hard because of all the things that make it hard.
yeah,
Who's got sovereignty? Who doesn't have sovereignty? What's the right direction? What's the responsibility of the democratic world to get itself engaged in regional conflicts?
Well, and I mean, what people are really looking at, what the other countries are really looking at when they decide whether or not to intervene is the impact on their own country, right? The future impact on their own country and on the world order. It's not that the United States cared so much about Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. I mean, they do. I mean, there's an aspect of that, right, where people want, the right thing to be done, and somebody encroaching on another country, they feel like is not the right thing, and so they want to protect those people. But beyond that, when they are actually looking at, do we send money? Do we send resources? Do we send weapons? Sending weapons to another country is a huge, huge decision. And that is generally made because the country that's sending the weapons thinks that if the side that they're backing wins, they will be better off. Their country will be better off. The world order will be better off.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, how many conflicts around the world do we not get into, right? Like,
We don't talk about those.
yeah, like there was just a coup in Niger, right?
We're not doing anything.
Nobody's talking about that. I saw that at the bottom of a news article. Like, it's not big news here.
Yeah.
We're not going to get involved,
Yeah.
right?
There's been civil conflict in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, for decades.
Yeah.
We don't get involved.
Thailand is still in flux.
Yeah, my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's a super interesting one because that sits in the middle of Southeast Asia, and they've been a longtime ally to the East and the West.
Yeah.
And yet the southern border of Thailand continues to be this hotspot of violence and extremism. That's a great point.
So I mean, countries pick and choose who they send their resources to,
based on what's in their own best interest.
and it's self-serving. Yeah, ultimately, it's self-serving.
If you like this short clip, make sure you click here to see the next clip, or here to see the full podcast episode.
So fresh, so new.